On the far side of the moon, where silence rules and shadows never sleep, a lonely technician stumbles upon the impossible. A tiny dragon, frozen and abandoned, clings to life inside a fragile bubble of air. One choice will decide everything. Will he risk defying Earth, defying the stars, and even defying fate itself to save a creature no one believes should survive? If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The moon did not bother with comfort. It offered no wind, no birdsong, only the slow creep of light across stone and the hush of endless night. Riven Hale liked it that way. Since the Mars accident, silence felt kinder than voices. At Outpost 13, he wore his matte black suit like a vow, its cyan indicators pulsing gentle beats that matched the station's heart. Data went up, spare parts came down, and the days stacked like flat stones. On a maintenance run along the crater rim, his heads-up display rippled. Motion alert. Not a mechanical pattern. Not dust from a micrometeorite. Not a drop tool skittering. It looked erratic, almost shy. He stopped, letting the sensors sweep. The ping repeated. 26 meters north, tucked behind a tumbled rind of rock, where an old mining rig once bit metal teeth into the ground. Riven moved with the careful speed of someone who had learned that rushing can tear the thin veil between life and regret. He rounded the stone and saw a shape his mind rejected before it accepted. A tiny dragon lay in the regolith, no bigger than his forearm. Its scales held a shifting sea glass green that sometimes hinted at blue, as if remembering oceans it had never touched. Its wings were folded tight, membranes neat as folded letters. Frost glittered on its skin, though there was no air to make frost. He would have called it a hallucination, if not for the bubble. A faint shimmer clung to the little body, a soap film of breath, blinking in and out like a tired heartbeat. The readout on Riven's wrist twitched. Trace pressure, trace warmth, a pocket made by the creature itself, and failing. When Riven's suit field overlapped the bubble, the tiny dragon's eyes slid open. They were amber gold, narrow-pupiled, and so full of tired sadness that all Riven's practiced distance cracked. He knew it couldn't hear him in the vacuum, but words escaped anyway. "Hey, small wonder." The dragon tilted its head as if listening to a familiar song. A breath later, a soft voice brushed the inside of Riven's mind, hesitant and clear. "Please, do not return me to the dark." Riven's hands moved before his fear could argue. He lifted the little body. It weighed almost nothing, fragile as a promise. The air bubble merged with his suit field. His power dipped a fraction. Not catastrophic, just a nudge, the kind of cost you pay gladly. The airlock cycled. Sound returned. Riven set the dragon on the examination table, cracked the suit, and let his lungs remember oxygen's kindness. Up close, the small creature trembled like a bird after rain. He wrapped it in a thermal blanket and sat back, giving space. The voice touched his mind again, softer now, as if the warmth gave it courage. "I am called Corey. I do not know your word for me. I am not strong. I was left." Riven's jaw tightened. "Left by who?" "The Skywings," Corey sent. And the thought carried images. Great bodies gliding between auroras, wings singing, elders with stone-cold judgment. In our nests, the less bright are sent away. The strong must not be slowed. The words sank like iron. Riven remembered a report, filed after Mars, full of blame, clean lines, and missing compassion. He chewed the thought and let it go. I'm Riven. I'm not leaving you. Corey blinked, then tried to stand. The legs quivered, and the little dragon sagged. Riven adjusted the blanket and fetched warm water vapor to ease the shock to delicate lungs. Corey sipped at the mist like a careful student. The hours stretched kindly. Riven checked systems, sent the scheduled data packet, and returned to the table every few minutes. Corey watched him with a steady focus that felt older than its small frame. In the evening cycle, when the lights dimmed and Outpost 13 hummed a low bedtime chord, the dragon spoke again. We share thoughts, Corey sent. Your kind shares with sound. I am sorry mine are jagged. I am still cold. I will be quieter. You don't have to be quiet, Riven said, surprising himself with the softness in his voice. You just have to be. Corey tugged the blanket like a nest and managed a small, contented breath. Riven switched the table's heat to gentle and leaned his elbows on his knees. How long were you out there? Corey searched for the number, then showed him a simple rhythm. 4 swoops of the moon's shadow, 4 turns of long night and bright day. I was told if I survived 7, I could return. But my breath thins, my bubble shakes. I am not built like my clutch. I am a delay, not a dancer. You're not a delay, Riven said, the word tasting wrong in his mouth. You're here. A tiny flicker of humor blinked along their link. Here is good. Riven let a small smile escape. He glanced at the old toolkit on the shelf, the box of valves and coils, the scraps of field mesh no one would miss. His mind began sketching shapes. A thought with wire and war. The moon stayed quiet. The outpost breathed, and a human who had chosen silence found himself planning for company. By the end of that cycle, Riven had a list. It was long, ridiculous, and perfect. Because sometimes the right kind of impossible is exactly what a story needs to begin. Riven worked like he was fixing a piece of himself. The breath frame grew from scavenged grace, a microcompressor from a cracked rover, a ring of field coils meant for antenna tuning, a filtrate sleeve trimmed and resewn with sensor thread, and a curved chest plate cut from a spare suit panel. He built small, he built gentle, and he built as if the wearer might trust again if nothing pinched. Corey watched from the workbench, eyes bright. Sometimes the little dragon pointed with a claw, sensing current leaks before meters did. Sometimes Corey drifted into a huddle of blanket and sleep, breathing slow, the bubble steadier indoors, yet still fragile. Riven kept tea brewing and the air a touch warmer. When the harness was ready, it looked plain, matte black, cyan indicators, no sharp edges. Riven knelt. Okay, small wonder, if anything hurts, we stop. Corey's thoughts shivered with joy and fear, braided together. I will try. They fastened the frame with soft straps. The coils hummed, not loud, more like a purr. Readings smoothed. Corey lifted a wing and the membrane quivered, catching the station's recycled air. The little body rose a hand's breadth, wobbling, then settled. Again, higher. A small circle, a triumphant hover. Laughter rang in Riven's mind like silver bells in snow. I am above the table. Riven, I am above the table. Yeah, he said, grinning like someone who'd forgotten how. You are. The celebration lasted until an alarm whispered from the long-range console. Riven's mouth went dry. 3 objects approached with a grace nothing human built could match. Their signatures sketched arcs of living geometry. Corey heard the alarm's tone and stilled. The thought that reached Riven was light and heavy at once. They are early. The skywings came down like midnight lanterns. Through the dome's view, Riven saw them land on powdery ground with unbelievable precision. 3 giants, one with scales dark as cooled glass, Elder Karkesh, the feeling said. One argent and sharp, Sereth. One warm amber and curious, Lumea. Riven sealed his suit. Corey breathed in, steadied by the frame, and followed. They stepped into the hush beyond the airlock, where gestures matter more than words. The Obsidian Elder's mind voice rolled over them, old and sure. Weak one, you persist, unpredicted, irrelevant, return. Riven took a single step forward. He has a name, it's Corey. Sereth's thought tasted of cold metal. Ground-tied human, your noises are quaint. Our choice was made. Lumea's tone. The silence that followed felt like a cliff edge. Karkesh lowered his broad head, an eclipse filling Riven's visor. Choose? Your weight is clan one, not self-made. Riven kept his hands visible. I won't let you take him against his will. Sereth's amusement flickered, sharp and thin. You are a soft species, and that softness will break you. Softness is how we hold what matters, Riven said, wondering at his own steadiness. Sometimes soft things bend and do not break. He felt Corey gather courage like thread. I learned more strength here in small days than in all my cycles among you. Not the strength to stand alone, the strength to stand together. Lumea's warm thought brushed both of them. Old one, do not throw away this gift before we understand it. Karkesh's wings unfurled, and even the moonlight seemed to pause. The elder's gaze ran over the breath frame, the coils, the simple craftsmanship, as if reading a poem in bolts and wire. You made a scaffold for a bubble breather, human. Cost against cost. Precious resources spent on a being your kind does not own. Riven kept his voice even. I don't own him. I care for him. That's free and priceless at the same time. Lumia's mind music warmed. There is a widening here. Sereth's disdain tightened, or a weakening infection. Corey drifted closer to Riven's shoulder, not hiding, just choosing his place. I do not refuse my blood. I choose to be a bridge. The word bridge held images, arched stone, braided rope, a line of light between cliffs. Karkesh considered. At last, the elder spoke with a patience that felt like shifting mountains. Bridge, if you can, but we will not guard what leaves our nest. Your path, small one, will carry wind and tooth. Corey dipped his head in a gesture no one taught him. Understood. The giants lifted in one smooth motion and were gone, leaving only a gentle rain of dust and a feeling like a half-finished sentence. Inside, Riven removed his helmet and leaned against the wall, letting his breath catch up. Corey landed on the table with soft claws and blew a tiny ring of warm air, a new trick born of the frame's steady feed. I did not breathe that before, Corey sent, delighted. Riven laughed, tired and pure. You will breathe more yet. They were still smiling when the station chimed again, a different tone. Riven opened the cargo manifest and felt his chest go tight. An encrypted case sat in the supply bay, tagged with priority marks and the name of someone Riven would have liked to forget. He carried the case to the workbench. It opened itself with corporate neatness. A holograph flickered. Director Madden, a face like polished stone. Technician Hale, the recording said. Satellite review confirms an alien specimen under your control. Package for return. Non-compliance will be flagged as obstruction of Earth security. Corey's thoughts shrank. Small and brave. Specimen is a cold W. Riven's reply was simple as gravity. They can keep their cold words. He smashed the case's transmitter and, for the first time in many months, felt his pulse quicken for something bigger than fear. "We're not hiding," he said to Corey. "We're calling." Corey's eyes brightened like dawn. "I remember a song that is not a song." "Then let's sing." Outpost 13's dish was never meant to sing. It was a practical throat for practical data. Riven unbolted its certainty and rewired it into curiosity. Corey perched on a stool, guiding his hands with micro-gestures, sensing when a coil hummed slightly wrong or when two notes wanted to be neighbors. They layered pulse on pulse until the signal felt less like transmission and more like invitation. The first day passed with only the usual star silence. The second carried a long shadow that stretched over both of them, but did not swallow them. On the third, Riven brewed tea and Corey practiced hovering figure eights. On the fourth, they repaired a squeaky hinge because the universe is stitched with ordinary things. On the fifth, the dish throbbed once and went quiet, as if some far ear twitched in sleep. On the sixth, the air in the dome felt expectant. On the seventh, the sky unfolded. The vessel that arrived did not land so much as bloom. It looked grown from twilight and song, a shape that shifted when you tried to hold it still. A gentle ramp extended. Figures stepped out, whose edges drifted like candle smoke in a breeze. They were not ghosts, they were light remembering how to be a body. Their leader inclined a not-quite head, and a voice came that felt like standing in warm rain. "We are the drift. Some call us travelers. Some call us unmoored. We like friends when it fits. I am solace." Riven glanced at Corey. Corey's mind burst with wonder that had no fear in it. "Bridge folk," he sent, breathless. Solace turned to the little dragon with the care one uses when meeting a child who has learned too much too soon. "You called across the in-between, in a dialect old as kindness. We heard." Riven told the truth. "Earth is sending armed shuttles. They want to cut my friend into answers. His people want him to be less than a person. We need a door." Solace answered without drama. "We have many doors. Some go out into spaces where law wears new names. Some go between, where maps give up and wonder begins. We can carry you." The station chimed as if on cue. The orbital feed showed 3 Earth shuttles lifting, their trajectories proud and straight. An hour later, shadows darkened the sky again as 3 star wings circled low. Karkesh, Sereth, and Lumia. Not attackers, but witnesses. Riven packed quickly. A photograph of the old Mars crew went into a cloth pouch. A multi-tool. A book with pages that still smelled like paper. He looked around out. The station had been a monastery for his grief. Now it could be a memory. Corey hovered at his shoulder, breath frame purring. "If you stay, I stay," the little dragon sent, steady as a vow. "We'll choose the same way," Riven said. "Always." They stepped toward the drift's ramp when Karkesh's shadow settled over the ground. The elder spoke in a voice that no longer brushed with contempt, only distance. "Small one, you leave the known path." Corey rose to meet that gaze without shrinking. "I will carry our songs into places we forgot to visit." Sereth's thought edged in. "The human will die in a blink. You will remain. What then?" Corey's answer was a soft light that filled the link like dawn. "Then I will tend what we began. I will hold memory like fire in cold hands." Lumea gave a slow, approving chord. "Step well. bridge child. Solace gestured, and the ramp brightened. Come, there is time now, and there is not. As they crossed the threshold, Riven felt the strange pull of a gravity that moved sideways. The inside smelled faintly of rain on stone that had never seen rain. Corridors curved with natural grace. Beings moved there who wore shapes of glass and moss and gentle steel. Someone offered Riven a cup that tasted like home, even though he had no words for the flavor. The drift did not hurry, but it did not linger. They slid into a region where stars slurred into brushstrokes. Solace walked beside them, flickering at the edges. You are leaving one kind of danger, the traveler said. Others wait, because fear is never out of work. But you will not face them alone. Riven nodded. It felt like he had been holding his breath for a year and had finally let it go. Where are we going? Solace opened a window that grew from the wall like a petal. Space turned, and a station came into view, huge, ringed, alive with many kinds of light. Harbor Ring, Solace said. A home made by those who not sit quietly inside boxes. No empire owns it. Many defend it. If your hearts want a place that says yes to difference, this is that place. Corey pressed tiny claws to the window. There are so many, Solace agreed. And they are not the same, and that is their strength. Alarms hummed, gentle but certain. The drift's deck lights cooled by a single shade. Solace looked outward, then back to them. Your Earth arrives, and your star wings. They come together, for once, not to be friends, but to claim. The image formed, 3 human war-sleek craft and a clan ship older than maps. Harbor Ring powered shields that braided technologies in ways that would give any engineer a happy headache. Riven exhaled and felt no desire to run backward. I've been hiding behind sorrow long enough, he said. It's time to stand where everyone can see us. Corey settled on his shoulder with a weight that had nothing to do with mass. Together, he sent, and the word rang like a bell. The drift slid them into a gentle docking tunnel. Doors opened to a promenade crowded with languages. A woman with iron gray hair and kind authority stepped forward, with guards who did not threaten so much as promise order. Welcome to Harbor Ring, she said. I am Admiral Rin Keiji. We prefer peace. We prepare for other options. Riven lifted a hand. We're here to try the first one. Corey added, with shy pride. We brought a map. You cannot draw with only one mind. And the stage was set. Harbor Ring felt like a city dreamed by many storytellers at once. Gardens from worlds that had never met shared the same sunlight. Market stalls sold tools that hummed a little when you thought about them. Laughter wore shapes Riven had no words for and yet understood. Admiral Rin Keiji moved with a calm that made people breathe easier near her. She led them into a hall with a ceiling like a quiet sky. On one side, envoys from Earth waited, crisp in uniforms that trusted straight lines. On the other, the star wings coiled along a terrace open to space. Karkesh watched like a mountain that remembered thunder. Serath glittered with clean edges. Lumia's gaze warmed like a fire you can sit beside for hours. Keiji spoke first. Harbor Ring will host under our rules. No seizures, no cages, no forced studies. Words first, always. If words fail, we walk away, not toward. The Earth Envoy, Secretary Tal Mendez, glanced at Riven. Technician Hale, come home and we can discuss protections. Riven met that with even tone. I won't sign away a friend. Sirath's whisper slid over the room. The hatchling returns to nest. We are done. Karkesh said nothing, which felt like thunder held in a closed hand. Corey flew a slow circle, breath frame humming, then landed on a clear dais in the middle. "I want to show you something," he sent to all, and even those without gift felt the thought like a warm draft. The little dragon took a breath that drew on both machine and self. A narrow line of controlled plasma curled from his mouth, gentle and bright, not fire of harm, but fire of shape. Corey wove it in the air, painting an elegant map, lanes that bent with gravity and kindness, anchor points where ships could meet and share both safety and knowledge, rescue paths that served anyone in trouble. He folded human math and star-wing instinct together and made something neither alone could imagine. "Borders do not live in the dark," he sent. "They live in our minds, but sharing lives anywhere minds are willing. This is a fair sky." The room changed. Air felt easier. Someone, no one could say who, exhaled a trembling yes. Secretary Mendez leaned forward in spite of herself. Could this be scaled? Corey nodded. The movement small and brave. Many could learn. It takes patience and a willingness to let someone else's way become partly yours. Luma hummed a chord of agreement. This is new practice. I like new practice. Sereth bristled, sparks along silver. It weakens us. Karkesh finally spoke. Strength that cannot bend becomes a shard, not a blade. We taught the small one kind of pride. The human taught another. I find a third in the air now, a pride that sits down at one table. Admiral Kaji's voice held quiet resolve. Harbor Ring is willing to protect a table like that. We propose the Harbor Accord. No forced capture, shared research by consent only, joint rescue protocols, and a council seat for bridge bearers, those who can stand in two worlds without lying to either. Mendes weighed invisible balances. Earth will not tolerate military disadvantage. Keiji nodded. Nor will anyone else here. That is the point. Parity by cooperation, not by cages. For a long minute, the hall became a place where old habits argued with new promises. Then, something soft broke the stalemate. A child's laugh from the back, where visitors had gathered, many species standing on tiptoe to see the small dragon write light in air. The sound was pure as fresh water. Mendez lowered her shoulders by a few millimeters. We will sign if oversight is mutual and inspections are scheduled. Karkesh turned his great head toward Corey. Little Bridge, do you accept this labor? Corey's answer was simple. I do. And so, with strokes of ink and pulses of thought, the Harbor Accord took shape. Riven and Corey were named first bridge bearers, not property of Earth or of the Starwings, but trusted messengers between. Applause rose like rain beginning. Somewhere, a musician made a hopeful chord and let it ring. Months rolled forward in bright, honest work. Riven joined Harbor's engineering crews, helping splice human alloys with Starwing fieldweave, turning theory into hulls that healed from micrometeorite kisses. Corey taught mixed classes, children who brought sticky fruit and too many questions, pilots who hid nerves behind jokes, elders who pretended they were only there to supervise. They traveled as guests now, not fugitives. On Earth, schoolyards cheered when Corey hovered over playgrounds and made soft stars. In Starwing cities that floated like lanterns above gas giants. Riven learned to read wind with his bones instead of instruments. Some doubted, some plotted. A few tried to sabotage, but the bridges kept opening, plank by careful plank. One quiet evening, they stood on the observation deck of the first hybrid explorer. The ship was a poem of metal and living field, humming an eager note. Their crew laughed somewhere down the corridor. a wanderer who wore a body of clouded glass, a gardener from a planet of singing vines, a pilot who had baked cookies for everyone, because that is how some people say courage. Riven rested his hands on the rail. "Do you feel ready?" Corey nestled against his shoulder, no longer needing the frame, yet wearing it as a symbol, cyan lights dim as stars in a pocket. "I was ready the day you chose not to pass me by. I only learned the word later." The launch tone sounded, gentle like a heartbeat that wants to run. A message reached them across lawful space and the in-between both, Elder Karkesh's voice carrying a weight that no longer tried to crush. "Bridge-bearers, go well. Show us the shape of tomorrow." Riven smiled without sadness. "We're not escaping anymore." Corey's reply was bright as sunrise. "We're beginning." The ship leaned into the dark. Stars stretched, then breathed back into points. Maps shifted to make room. Behind them, Harbor Ring glowed like a campfire where differences warmed hands together. Ahead, the possible opened. Riven looked at the little dragon who had once shivered on cold dust and saw a friend, a partner, and a future wearing small scales and great heart. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" Corey asked, curious. "For being the reason I remembered how to step forward." Corey's laugh filled the cabin with a light that needed no flame. "We saved each other, Riven. That is my favorite kind of rescue." And so they went, not as conquerors, not as runaways, but as keepers of a promise. That kindness can be engineered into engines, that courage can be taught in classrooms, and that two very different hearts can carry the same bright lantern through the long night, leaving a trail for others to follow.